It's time to talk about a silly movie because I have finished The New Mutants.
I am so excited to talk about this. I have been waiting. We haven't done a Men film in a long time. I was hoping you'd bring this up. I wasn't sure if you'd bring it up in the form of talking about The New Mutants or just finishing watching
everything.
All of the Men films to ever have existed. Exist?
Yeah, I bet there's a weird something we're missing. Exist. Yeah, very good. All the Men films that have ever existed.
Exist.
What?
Because we're doing exist, but the X is Z, so it's exist.
It's silly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess we can't do silliness on this podcast anymore. All right. We're doing exclusively Bobcatter coverage.
Yeah, so I'm talking about The New Mutants because I think that it's interesting and I think that we have something to contribute to the conversation that maybe hasn't been extensively covered, but it's also a vessel for me to talk about how this is a really interesting microcosm of the Zmen-Fox universe.
Yeah.
Because, boy, it's got good bits and it's got bad bits.
Would you like to relay for the listeners what The New Mutants is? When did it come out? Who's it by?
Yeah.
What's the context?
The New Mutants is a 2020 film from the 20th Century Fox X-Men universe. It is the final film, not because it was necessarily intended to be, but because they made it, and then COVID happened, and they chopped and changed it, and then they released it, and then they got bought by Disney. So this is like the ignominious... I don't know if I'm using that word right, or if I have the right word.
Sounds like a character from Mad Max.
Ignominious Dickus. It's the end of the Fox universe, for better or for worse. But it is still a part of that universe. However, it is also a weird psychological horror-ish movie. It's a very quick 90 minutes, directed by Josh Boone, who also directed Help, I'm Very Sick, but I'm Falling in Love, but I'm a Teenager.
I watched that so many times.
Yeah.
My favorite movie when I was 15 was that.
Yep.
Help, I'm Very Sick, but I'm Falling in Love, but I'm a Teenager.
Yeah. Part of a long and storied tradition of Help, I'm Very Sick, but I'm Falling in Love, but I'm a Teenager.
By
There's
John Green.
Some of them are even not by John Green, but this one is. So that's what we're looking at. Is that enough framing to kick us off? It's got like 6 characters in it. Seriously, the cast, I could name 6 of them, and everyone after that is like a little cameo, or they're in one scene, or they're
But no
an extra.
actual cameos, just like...
Oh no, not famous characters or cast members.
This isn't a Deadpool 2 situation where he's strolling through this mansion, opens the door, and it's a whole Zmen in there, and then he's like, oops, sorry, wrong room.
No, this is just like... just a memory or like a horror
Somebody's
diversion.
a character's dad.
Yeah.
Who's about to die, which happens multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Multiple characters' dads are dead.
Yeah.
In this film.
Nice to know that we've moved beyond fridging mums and now we'll take anyone and we'll whip them up in a cyclone or whatever.
So we follow a lot of mutants who aren't really main players. I mean, they're not really. Some of them are part of this Men team.
Sure, but only like one of these has a significant footprint. I mean, I'm sure everyone gets a comic these days, but it's a B and C team.
Yeah, they're all teenagers. They're all trapped in this. It's not an asylum. It's a hospital. It's framed as a hospital.
It's an ex-hospital, but now it's like a mutants.
As a
hospital.
hospital.
Not a school. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Yeah, it's and they've been told that because they are have powers, they are mutants, and they've hurt people. They need to be contained there until they can control their powers.
Yeah.
And then they will be allowed to go on to the facilitator at the hospital. Her
Superior.
boss, her superiors.
My superior's facility?
School
Not clear.
has an establishment for
Yeah.
people with mutants. Obviously, the character's like, well, this is Professor X in the mansion, the school for gifted youngsters. But they're all sort of troublemakers. They're running around, kicking planks out of clock towers.
Are they troublemakers or are they like
spray painting,
deeply traumatized?
spray painting
Fountains? Yeah.
Where the spray paint disappears later, and the plank that was kicked out of the clock tower is just magically
put back.
I think they're just deeply traumatized.
Yeah.
Kids.
All of them are responsible for at least one death, except for maybe our main character, Moonstar.
No.
Is
Her
it
dad
fault?
died because
Because of her?
her whole
Oh,
village.
yeah. I forgot what her power is.
Her whole town. Yep.
Yep. Do we want to avoid spoilers for a second more?
Yeah, let's avoid spoilers for a second more.
Yeah. Everyone is guilty of some bad things that happened accidentally when their powers activated.
Let's
Mutant
just say
puberty.
Yeah, let's just say how we feel about it, and then we can go to spoilers. I was quite surprised by this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be bad because everybody said it was bad.
It's got a 2.1 on Letterboxd, which is,
Yikes.
I don't know, that's Artemis Fowl kind of numbers, you know?
It's real low.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. I can tell that there's a really good film, like a psychological horror men film in there. I believe it was not originally meant to be PG-13. But then they changed it to it. Like you said, it came out 2020. They released it in the middle of COVID. It seems like they didn't want to release it, but they just found a slot too, probably because of contract reasons. It was meant to come out, I believe, in 2016 or 2017.
Wow.
It was held back for a while. This has Anya Taylor-Joy. It has what's her name from Game of Thrones?
Oh, yes.
Plays one of the Starks or whatever.
She plays Maisie Williams.
Maisie Williams. It has one of the characters from Stranger Things, one of the older, like the older.
Which one? I've never seen Stranger Things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't remember. Will's older brother
Sure.
from that show. Yeah, it has some pretty notable actors in this. But by the time this released, like 5 years later, they were no longer teenagers. Yeah, so it feels like there was a lot of... It kind of feels like, not to the same extent, but Josh Trank's Fantastic Four.
Sure.
Fan Four stick, if you will.
Okay, yes.
Just
but
in
it's
the way
better than that.
There seems like there's a cool, dark thing in here that was...
Which is crazy because this was post-Logan and post 2 of the Deadpool films by the time it came out. So...
Also...
Obviously, they didn't think it was cool enough to be dark.
Post-Apocalypse and post-Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, 2 films that are... Oh, I was going to say 2 films that are worse than this.
I'd say they are.
Apocalypse, definitely. Dark Phoenix is kind of fun, but it's stupid.
I hate it. Nah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I didn't like it that much.
I think this... the frustrating thing about this universe is that they all have potential. I was like, I think this had there's a better film in here somewhere, but then I'm like, yeah, but there's a better film in all of them. They just half the time don't make it.
Yeah, or have to rewrite it. Like
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix was also chopped to shit because they were going to use Skrulls, and then they made a trade with Disney to be able to use Skrulls in Captain Marvel, and then they got... I don't know, who knows, like the freaking Galactus or Silver Star, who knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised.
I was pleasantly surprised because I'd heard universally bad things. I don't think it's great. I think it's of a similar quality, but also of a similar feel to Black Widow. In the sense it's like, well, people hate this, and it came out at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But it's surprisingly good, and if it wasn't for the studio taking charge of the third act, it would be really good. Is my feeling.
It reminds me, it has the vibe of Split, the M. Night Shyamalan film with
James McAvoy.
And it has a similar experience to Mortal Kombat.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, this film is better than that, but I see structurally, yes.
I think Mortal Kombat might be a bit better, but
Really? Oh, okay.
Simple, like decently simple story, you know, no massive budget blowout. Some really cool fight scenes, really cool effects in certain spots. But overall impact is not incredibly great. But I would love to see a second one.
I think what works about this movie that I like in a lot of team up movies, I'm thinking Original Avengers, I'm thinking Black Widow, I'm thinking Ocean's 11. Why not?
Yeah.
Is conflict within the team.
Yeah.
For at least until the midpoint, right? And boy, is there conflict within the team here. I mean, it's mostly one person being really mean and racist and just like completely vindictive.
Yeah.
But that creates enough interesting dynamics that by the end I'm like, I am invested in these guys coming together.
Let's get into spoilers.
Excellent.
But first, would you recommend that people finish the New Mutants?
Yeah, 100%. Don't let the criticism scare you off.
Yeah.
Yes, this is easily not in the bottom 3 of these movies.
All right, spoiler time.
Let's go.
So one of the things that really made me enjoy this was some payoff to the large as men universe to some degree.
You want to talk about that moment?
I want to talk about Mr. Sinister being revealed to be the big bad that they were, I guess, leading up to.
Yeah.
I couldn't really have they been leading up to him in the past couple of films? Not really, but like that's a villain that people want, and it made sense for this story. The DNA, blah blah blah,
and the superior was not Professor X. It was
Mr. Sinister. Who's making his own kind of team of evil men, but also just taking mutants' DNA because he uses that to improve himself. And then also the connection to Logan and making Logan somewhat more impactful because we see shots from Logan of these kids in these mutants in this facility who are tortured, which is, a decent amount of the plot of Logan. And
now, is that facility? Is that where Z23 came from?
Yes.
X23. Yeah. Thought so. Just testing my memory of Logan because it was a while since we started this project.
Yeah. But when we saw that, I jumped out of my seat. I was like, oh my God.
You did.
It felt like they could have been leading into something really cool. And then Disney bought Fox.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, hells yeah, Disney, buy Fox.
Well, it seemed like a shambles over there at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was.
I mean, yeah. But sometimes something good came out of it still.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do wonder if... I mean, it's easy to look back on this universe with a lot of fondness now, especially the ones that are good. Yeah. But I do wonder if this would maybe run its course and that the storytelling team behind this were struggling with the weight of just continuity and whatever else. But I am not filled with confidence and excitement about the future of these characters under Disney either. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Just make good stuff. It's easy to say from here.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's also... It's gay.
It's gay. Which I didn't think they'd do.
Not at all.
Because I felt like this movie was being cut to shit.
I thought they would take that out.
I thought there
was like little clues, and I was like, oh, we're getting another movie that's just little clues.
But the thing is, it's not a Disney movie, so they don't cut the gay stuff out. It's a Murdoch movie, so they keep it in.
Apparently.
That was a really cute subplot. With the main character Danny and Maisie Williams' character. It was a lot more mature than I thought it would be.
But it was mature in its structure, but not in... The characters were not mature, which I liked. Like, there's a couple of classic just like lounge room scenes where characters have no objective. They're not fighting a thing. And you just get to see them being who they are. And Anya Taylor-Joy's magic is really mean and really awful, especially to Danny.
Yeah.
And those two have just like a full-on argument where they're swearing at each other and they get physical, and it's maybe cliche or like quite simplistic in the structure of that conflict, but I was hooked. I was like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. And it wasn't like, by the end, you are like, magic's pretty bad. Also, she was being a little racist, but...
Yeah,
it's pretty cool though.
But how good does that arm look?
But how good does the arm look? And they brought out an actual dragon.
It looks better than Iron Man, I'll say it.
A full CGI locket, which is a magic's dragon from the limbo other universe that she created in her head, whatever.
But it's also just her toy.
Yeah, but it's also her
just a soft toy that she goes to for comfort. God, that is a dark backstory.
It's a really dark one. But you don't like her.
No.
You don't like her at all. So that was real easy for me. I think that's one of the reasons why I actually, for the first time ever, I will say it, I enjoyed Anya Taylor-Joy in a film.
Who knew that this would be the one?
Because everyone actively hates her and she's a bad person.
I think she gives a more interesting performance here than in most other things.
I think so.
Just because this role is a bit more off the handle. Than a Furiosa or the Menu.
Yeah. I think one thing with her character as well is she's intentionally provocative.
Yes.
I think the rude, offensive, and yes, once again, like downright racist stuff that she says, she's saying it because she's a teenager who's had fucked trauma and is stuck in a hospital with these other people that she doesn't really like, and is just she's using any chance she can get to upset people and make some sort of get some sort of response, which is what teenagers do.
Yeah. The main character, Danny Moonstar's power is that she accidentally makes everyone's fears real. And so until she maybe learns to control it at the end or something, it's a little unclear. Basically, everyone's nightmares and trauma memories are coming to life. Yeah. Which is a great setup for a horror movie. Oh. It's super simplistic.
Yeah.
It could not be in some ways lazier, but also it's so brutally efficient.
I think horror needs to be simple.
Yeah?
Well, I appreciate
you had so many theories about it's a hand.
It's
Talk
a
to
hand.
me.
Yeah. But when it comes down to it, that has a rule set. This has a rule set.
Yeah.
And you can understand it and you can figure out, oh, why did this happen? Why did this happen?
Yeah.
Well, I think for horror to work, at least for me, it needs to be understandable.
This is the opposite of the Jordan Peele approach in some ways.
No, I think Jordan Peele, all of those are mostly us is a bit convoluted. I don't know. They okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think
I'm wrong.
I think there's two ways to do it. One is like the rules are super clear and I understand the stakes, and one is like this is terrifying because it is unknown.
Yes,
like weird cosmic horror stuff.
Yeah. I think where my issue lies, it's with supernatural horror, where I'm like, this seems to just be happening for the sake of it happening.
And it's being entertaining.
Yeah. There's no commentary that's being made in the way of like, why do we fear the unknown? Why do we fear the things that we fear? How do we connect that to our own trauma? Or like, here's this particular thing that's creepy in this way because it has this rule set that affects the characters' lives in particular ways. There isn't any sort of reasoning. The reason is just kind of like, because it's a demon, because somebody died in this house,
yes,
they're going to haunt you
because they feel like it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one more thing about this also,
absolutely.
Which is we both. I think you coined the name of this, but you said this is the prayification of this universe, and I think it's fascinating because we're talking about the film Prey and the Predator series. Everybody like female Native American protagonist came out in COVID, didn't make much money, was good, and redefined or radically changed the environment and the context of that franchise to give it new life.
Yeah.
Now,
also doing it after the franchise is basically dead.
Oh, yeah. And one of those was very well liked and is getting 1 to 2 sequels. And one of those disappeared into the ether.
Both Fox movies too. Both Fox movies.
There you go. I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of the time you see a movie, the go woke, go broke thing is what I'm trying to say. You see a movie that tries something slightly different. We spend our whole lives, almost everyone in the audience is always saying, I just want some artistic difference. I want some stylistic range. I want a movie that does something a bit different. Then they come out and often they flop. So I'm really glad that Prey seemed to do well enough, or that some executives just saw it and recognized the artistic merit in it, and that we're going to get a bit more of this stuff. Because otherwise we're going to get more blue sky beams forever.
Well, here's the thing. I think with Prey, because it came out during COVID, it wasn't, they weren't trying to get rid of it. It feels like New Mutants, they were trying to get rid of it. It was after Disney had bought Fox. Like, I think its original release was after that merger. So Disney was like, well, we have to legally, like I said, release these films. How do we do it in the least impactful way possible? So they were just trying to sweep it under the rug. With Prey, it was like, well, the Predator franchise has been relatively in the shit for a while.
Yeah, well, the one before Prey was very poor.
Shane Black's the Predator.
Yeah.
And so they were just taking a gamble, and they're like, great, let's do a small budget thing. And then happened to release during COVID. And because of that, a bunch of people didn't see it. And so, but then it came out, on Disney Plus and all that. And now it's gained a following. So they're making more. But this, like, Disney is not going to be like,
the change in ownership didn't help. Yeah, they're not bringing
New Mutants, let's bring that back, actually. That was good.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm just saying, make more mid-budget, stylistically distinct stuff in franchises.
Yeah.
Because if it flops, you haven't really lost anything. You can go back to the formula that works. And if it succeeds, you get a new audience. That's all.
I think this could have been a bit more stylistically distinct.
Sure.
I think the stylistic distinctness was just the fact that it was a horror film in the Men franchise.
Do you think the ending could have been different?
What are you referring to?
No, I'm just wondering where you're going with this.
No, I just think that it stylistically could have had a bit more to it. Yeah.
I'm referring to the CGI demon bear that felt very mid-2000s superhero movie in the bad ways, because a lot of those movies are good.
I didn't hate the CGI demon bear. Yeah, I don't know.
They did hit me with the Moana ending, and I was like, well, you've won me over, but you're cheating.
I didn't hate it felt like it was better than other.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It was better than the bad versions of that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just like, I recognize this. Whereas
Sure.
I had been compelled by the fact that for much of the movie, I was like, I didn't know anyone was bold enough to do this in this franchise. Or something.
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
I'd like to see genre shifts within a franchise. I say that, but then also they made Werewolf by Night,
Yeah.
and that was terrible, in my opinion.
I had fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists.
I'm glad it exists,
I want them to do more things like that.
But I feel like a lot of the stuff, even Doctor Strange 3, they kicked Scott Derrickson out and brought in Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't really allowed to be horror
that wasn't
or
stylistically
goofy.
distinct. They just brought in a director who had done horror before.
Yeah.
And there were some of the things that looked like horror on the outside, but it was a very much a regular Marvel sequel.
Yeah.
I'm still so annoyed about that movie. I can't believe so many people like it. I think they've been tricked and they don't realize.
I think so. Just like I was tricked with The Four.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This is why I'm really excited for the DC films to start rolling out. James Gunn's sort of ethos, rule set, whatever you want to call it, for the films is we don't start production until the script is right.
Yeah.
Until we're happy with the script and we think this is good. Because Marvel, what they've done for a long time is like, we tell you what the movies are coming out, then we need to write a script, hopefully by the time that we start production. If not, we'll be writing it and rewriting it and then do reshoots, whatever. They're like, no, for this to be good, writers are the core of this. Because it is true. I mean, you don't make a movie based on concept art.
Yeah.
You know, you don't make an adaptation based on that. No, you make an adaptation. If you're doing adaptation, it's like adaptation of a book or something where the writing exists. Not to downplay visual mediums at all. And you can definitely expand upon things. But like the most recent example I can think of trying to adapt something that is mostly a visual medium is the children's storybook, Harold and the Purple Crayon. And we all know how that went. So, you know, so I'm really excited for that. And I mean, they've just said that a Clayface film is starting production because the script is done for that. The Batman, the Brave and the Bold, who knows when that's coming out? It hasn't started because it's not ready yet. So yeah.
I love that.
A Clayface film, that's going to be kooky and weird. You know, I know I said it at the time, like 10 years ago, that I wanted everything to just be under Marvel and be under DC and then everything can connect and all the characters can kiss. But now I'm like,
we had that.
What if they don't kiss? What if they just do like cool stuff on their own? And
You're
it's all
allowed to
different?
change your mind. You're allowed to mature your taste.
But as soon as that happens, I'll be like, yeah, but what if they kissed actually?
Oh, yeah, 100%. But then we're actually looking forward to it and maybe there's an interesting narrative or character reason to do it rather than like, oh, well, 6 years ago we said that this has to be a team-up movie.
Yeah.
And now we have to write it.
Yeah. Mutants, everyone.
Definitely if you haven't participated in any of the Olds Men. Because especially once the purchase of Fox happened, I was like, well, they're not going to be relevant, so I don't need to worry about them. But this universe has a lot of merit on its own. So I encourage your participation in these films. And you could do a lot worse than New Mutants.
You said that this one was the last one, but technically, Deadpool and Wolverine is the capping off.
Yeah, I know. I don't count it as part. I mean, I know it's part of this universe narratively.
Yeah.
But in a meta way, it's not.
Yeah. It feels like an epilogue.
It feels like a different thing. A worse thing made by a different company to me.
I think I probably enjoyed New Mutants more than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. It was shorter, which doesn't hurt these days.